Hi everyone, a big warm welcome to you from Scotland. It's absolutely beautiful here and I hope it's a wonderful warm environment where you are too. So a lovely big welcome. We have people from Finland, we have people from Egypt, we've got people from Tunisia and more joining. If you are just joining us, please do say hello in the chat and we'll give you a shout out, and also put where you are in the world because we just love to see where you are. So today's webinar is all about seamless and effective onboarding. As usual, you'll get an email at the end of the webinar, about half an hour or so afterwards, and it will contain the links to these slides, which have got lots and lots of links in as well. We've got some great examples and resources lined up for you as well. I am not on my own. We are joined by Dee, who I'm going to bring out in a second, and the wonderful Claudia. If you watch our webinars, you'll be familiar with Claudia, who joins us. Also, in the webinar panel, we have Ivan, who heads up our support service. So if you ever email support@thinglink.com, it's usually Ivan who responds. He heads up the team, but he's also going to be in the chat. So if you have any technical questions at all, any ThingLink specific questions, pop them in the chat and Ivan can answer you right away. If you've got any questions about onboarding, you want to ask us a question, pop that in the chat as well. So without further ado, please let me welcome the wonderful Dee. Dee, how are you? Welcome.
Good. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. For those of you who haven't attended a webinar that I've been a part before, just a little bit about my background. I have been at ThingLink now for almost 10 months. So we're nearing that year. And when we're talking about onboarding, this is a big focus of mine because I do have an industrial organizational psychology background. So really focused on the human behavior in the workplace. And that always starts on day one. So I'm really interested in this topic and chatting about it.
And you've got some great examples to show us as well, because you've been working with a growing number of corporations globally who have been developing their resources to create these effective onboarding processes.
Absolutely. There's some great examples of how to effectively onboard and pre-board, when we'll talk about both today.
And if anybody wants to know who's behind you, you've got Adonis and Dorian the cats who might make an appearance.
Yes, Adonis should be here the whole time. Dorian might jump on at some point.
Okay. And it is also my great pleasure to bring Claudia. Claudia, wow.
Hi everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you tonight discussing onboarding and share experiences and share amazing ThingLink scenarios. Who's that? Who's that? What's going on? Please, Louise, tell us more.
So Claudia is one of our ThingLink certified trainers, a growing number of people globally who are ThingLink luminaries. They are lighting up immersive learning, and we are taking the opportunity to showcase each of our trainers as well. If you want to become a trainer yourself, we'll make sure you get the details of that. And we launched a blog post today, which you're sharing on all your channels, and people can get in touch with you as well if they want some practical assistance in their areas. And you're based in Italy. Is it as warm in the Aosta Valley as it is in Scotland?
No, really. It's 10 degrees less. So yeah, and it's raining. So wow. You are a rock star too. I love you so much.
So we've got other people joining us from Finland as well. Hi, Rika. Great you're joining us. Thanks ever so much. So as you've heard, this webinar is going to be all about onboarding. Now, I know that people are going to have some horror stories. Yes, I do have the kind of thing that I got given, not with ThingLink, but have worked in previous organizations where you're given the manual of doom and it hasn't been updated. And it's just really, not really helpful and not really a welcoming experience. So let's ask everybody watching, what's your experience of pre-onboarding or onboarding in the organizations where you're working? Dee, over to you. What was your experience? Have you got any horror stories or great?
Oh my gosh, I have a lot of both. I think in a lot of my sales roles, which have been interesting, it's the throw you in, just hey, it's your first day, go do something, and it's really, that was one of the bad experiences, right? Because you're just like, I know nothing, and now I have to figure it out myself, and really the learning curve there is crazy. So that's a bad experience, but I've also had really good experiences where they've been structured. I've had a mentor. I've been able and freely available to ask questions to anyone on the team and understanding everyone's role. So I've also had really good experiences onboarding.
Great. What about you, Claudia? Have you got any particular funny stories or something that's jumped out at you?
Well, not so fun, but kind of scary, if I have to be honest. That was my first day at Oxford University, week 0. I didn't know anyone. I had to run here and there. I didn't know where I was supposed to go. I didn't have an accommodation, so I was looking for an accommodation. It wasn't fun at all. Nobody had helped me previously, so I was lost, and I found somebody speaking French, so I was so grateful, and I was with this person all along the day. Then we took a picture. I was like this, and that was awful, and I had on my uni day card for the 2 years following. That wasn't the bestest experience, if I have to be honest with you. So yeah, I gladly had something like ThingLink to help me on board gradually and in an immersive way, but more of that later.
That sounds like you've got lots of experience to share. And we've got Jesus joining us from Spain. A big welcome to you as well. And do drop in the chat if you've got any experiences, positive or negative, of onboarding. So Dee, when we sent out the blog post inviting everybody, we had some nice statistics as well that, having a great onboarding process can work wonders, not only showing how innovative your organization is, but yeah, there's so many more outcomes.
Absolutely. And I always like to think about the why. Why is onboarding so important? And I think you can really just chalk it up to, it's your first impression. That is a company or a school, whatever it might be, that is your first impression to a new employee, a student, a new hire. And it's really your opportunity to let the new hire get that familiarity with the company norms and values, and also helps them understand what tasks they will be performing and being able to align those tasks with the organizational standards. We know that, and that's why we have these types of statistics, is because it's going to be linked to an increased job satisfaction, commitment to the company, and most importantly, decreased turnover. We want to reduce the turnover within those first 90 days. And so giving them a good onboarding experience will decrease those numbers.
Well, whenever an organization reads those statistics, why wouldn't they want to make sure that they're overcoming all of those experiences? And Marit's just put in the chat there that she was provided with essential information without overwhelming me, which is, again, not overwhelming people with folders and stuff and lots of reading to do, but actually having a human connection as well, by the sounds of it. So we put together a kind of top 3 of the things that we've heard as a company when we're working with organizations to help them develop their onboarding assets, if you like. ThingLink has partnered with some amazing organizations, big names who we've been ideating with. But these are some of the things that we've heard. Firstly, pre-onboarding doesn't exist. What does pre-onboarding mean, Dee?
I think a lot of people think that onboarding starts on day 1, but what you don't realize, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in a second, is it starts before. Like I said, it's your first impression. And that doesn't mean paperwork. I think a lot of people think of that as like, we want to get the paperwork filled out, your W-2s, your I-9, whatever that might be, but it's not. It's really getting the employee familiar with the organization prior to their first day.
And I guess that can help with recruitment right from the outset.
Exactly. It can benefit your recruitment as well.
Another big challenge that we hear a lot, which is quite unfortunate, but people have said that their accessibility requirements weren't considered. Now, there's a statutory responsibility around accessibility. And I was talking to Mitsubishi Electric this week, and they said that the Institute of Refrigeration, who is a policy think tank, have said that 50 to 80% of the engineers' workforce are dyslexic. Now, you shouldn't be just creating things because people might be have accessibility requirements. You should just do it as though everybody has requirements. So I think that's something else that we want to really make sure that we're covering today. And yes, that's a great comment. ThingLink for new students coming from all over the world. So you've got lots of challenges and barriers about language and communication. So making sure that you've got all of those documents, all of those experiences, multimodal. I mean, why wouldn't you want to, just give people, why would you give people just text documents? And then the third challenge that we've summarized here is that, of course, people work in hybrid, from home, in the office. There might be regional offices, there might be global offices. You might be in a team for EMEA or APAC, where, logistics just mean that you can't come together as a cohort, as an intake. So actually, that's not physically possible. But also, if you've got groups of people who are doing training together, then it's really hard to get everybody, even time-wise, on the same place. So having some training. I'd love to ask everyone watching, have you got any challenges that you'd like to add to that summary? Or is there anything, Claudia or Dee, that you want to add to that?
Yeah, I can hop in. I think a good, Marie, with saying that, hey, you were provided essential information without being overwhelmed. The onboarding process can be very overwhelming. And a lot of, it is a info, just all of the information all at once. So I think it's important. I think that's a huge challenge. And I think it's important to break it up and have different milestones throughout so employees know if they're on track.
You mentioned before the kind of 30, 60, 90 approach.
Exactly. And I think that's a great approach to let the new hire know, 30 days, you getting feedback as an organization as well. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Are they feeling overwhelmed? Do we need to pull back a little bit on the onboarding, slow down? Because people also learn at different paces. So I think it's really important to have those check-ins throughout on both sides. You give a review, they give you a review as well.
Nice. Lots of good tips there.
Something very that's not really said up to now. Even sometimes we have culture clash because we got people coming from all over the world, like Rika suggested, but maybe I don't know the culture I'm going in, and I assume that the same values and beliefs that I have are the same, and maybe you make mistakes, but you don't do that on purpose. It's just you need to to get to know the other in a nice and inclusive way, and that's not easy. Sometimes we need to we need to have awareness of different cultures and work with the cultures that don't really know what to do or what to expect. And that's what I experienced when I was in Oxford. I thought that I thought and breathed the Italian way, but then I realized that I was in Italy and I had to adapt, and it wasn't difficult. But then the moment I understood, then things got better and better for me.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so important.
That's hugely important, Claudia. And you can't kind of cultivate a culture just by putting a bunch of policies together and say, this is how we work. The culture is something that's created by every single employee in the way they interact with each other. So having the kind of ethos where you're going to have these kinds of onboarding processes is a huge step in the right direction. So now we've looked at some of the challenges and some of the experiences. now it's time to start having a look at the good practice and the solutions. And I know, Dee, you've got a corker to kick us off, which is how a company called Visela created some assets to help not only with pre-onboarding of new staff, but also to recruit and think about the future workforce. So are you going to share your screen, or do you want me to?
I've got it. Yeah, just pulled up. Can everybody see my screen?
We can now. I shall remove mine and add yours. There you go.
Great. So Visela, they utilize them when we're talking about pre-boarding, right? That happens even before a candidate clicks apply. So they utilize this during the recruiting process so that even recruits coming in, they can get to know a little bit about the company and, you know, what is it like to work here? Why do I want to join this organization? And this is, again, your first impression. So being able to have some type of pre-boarding where your new hires can understand, why do I want to work here? And even, you know, first day of work, I haven't even applied, and I can see, you know, what it's like being inside of one of the buildings, getting this virtual tour, what makes work meaningful. So really having these strategies put in place allow you to make that great first impression. And this is what I'm talking about when I say pre-boarding. Because as candidates go through, they get that understanding of the culture, the values, what the company is trying to accomplish as well.
It's a fantastic example. It really is. And when you get the slides, everyone watching, you'll be able to explore this. And there is a blog post as well that's been written to highlight some of the positive impacts that have happened from this example.
Absolutely. Yes. And I can just name one of the positive impacts is it helped their recruiting. They got more applicants in general. So that's a great way to showcase your organization before that day one, before even applying. So think about it that way as well.
Wow.
And there's such a known lack of young people going into engineering industries and industries like this. So they're using this to actually work with schools and colleges as kind of part of the work experience. So students who maybe know that this is the local employer but think it's not for them might think, actually, you know, that might be a good reason.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, again, this is a great example. We have shared it in here, but it just really dives into the importance and how having a great pre-boarding experience can help an organization when it comes to recruiting and beyond.
Brilliant. Claudia, now you have actually made a mock-up looking at it from a school perspective, because often ThingLink is used in schools where teachers are using it for learning assets in working with their students, so in teaching. And we see students creating with ThingLink as well as part of that student creation. But all schools recruit new staff and they have new students coming. So it's something that school administrators can use as a really good tool as well to help new teachers coming in. So do you want to talk us through your example?
Sure. Well, as you amazingly said, getting to know a new school sometimes can be scary, and as we said before, can lead to information overload. And if we use ThingLink in this way, we use immersive learning through a fun and interactive activity, and we give people accessibility because we use visual format and we make information accessible to everyone. This is, for example, the mock-up school that I used. Here is the message of the principal, that is
welcome to Greenfield School.
And saying, you know, you're welcome. Now you will see all the different things that we're going to talk about, like navigating the school safely, reinforcing the importance of knowing emergency procedure in a more realistic context. So basically here you say, so the first thing is pay attention to the board, because on the board every day, every week, there is something important to take notes on. And then I created this immersive scenario where I have kind of a fake board that I created with some examples on upcoming events or announcements, and yeah, here I just put important reminders just to show both staff and students where are the most important things to look for, and to work together. We know that this is kind of the most important thing to look for at the very, very beginning. So yeah, that was my first example. And then I created a variety of potential scenarios. So for example, there's a fire alarm. What shall we do? Are we gonna panic and rush out? Yes, we're gonna panic. What's the consequence? You reach the assembly point, but it takes longer. And what's gonna happen? Havoc, No, it's not good. So don't do that. Let's go back. Calmly and quickly exit. Consequence, you feel a sense of relief. You see, you're living the situation without actually living them. We are in an immersive scenario. You don't feel threatened by what's going on around you because you know that this is all an hypothesis. This is not real. And then you feel confident and you understand even better what are the policies that you kind of have to look, that you have to observe. Let's say that. Here's there's another scenario: the lost backpack. What do? You lose your backpack. What should you do? You approach the teacher, or you re-enter the library without permission? You approach a member of staff and you retrieve your backpack back safely, and this is the member of staff smiling. And then you navigate the school. What do? You consult the school map, or you try to find the computer lab without consulting the map? Of course, it makes sense. You arrive at the computer lab without incident, and that's it. And then you have a thorough map of how to get from the library up until the computer lab. You see all these little things that help actually teachers and students and staff to get along well, to get to know the other's culture. And if you go onto the editor, you see that the branch scenario is kind of complicated. Here, for example, there is a block that I decided not to put because it was too much, and I didn't want myself to create information overload. So I created all this branch scenario and I attached all the bricks together. So you got all the blocks, and as you can see, you've got all the scenario developing, and you can decide, for example, to attach this block to another block and create another scenario. And as you can see, it's easy. You can do it in minutes with Stingly. Oh my God, I'm in love, and you can see that. But it's just that it's so easy, and you've got the different conclusions. You virtually experience everything that goes from navigating the school, fire alarm, problems, health and safety problems, but you do it with a smile because you don't feel threatened. And I think this is the added value that we find by using ThinkLink in this kind of situation. So thank you. What do you think?
Brilliant. I just love the fact that you could have the tour, as in the Weissler tour, which almost starts to scaffold that kind of feeling and scaffold that knowledge. And then you've got something like this, which is something you could try on a phone and play around with.
Totally. Everywhere, because
amazing, Claudia.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I love that too, because like you mentioned, like being lost on your first day, understanding where do I go? It's so important. Like, where do I even show up to, and how do I navigate there? So I think it's really great to go through with that with a tour plus the added scenario value.
And it really demonstrates that the organization is thinking about every minor detail, even showing where the restrooms are, showing where your locker is, showing where the kitchen is. They're things that you don't necessarily want to have to ask people when you get there on the first day. So yeah, absolutely phenomenal example, Claudia, and that's going to be in the deck for everyone to have a play around with. Excellent. So we have another example for you now, which I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And one of the other kind of things that I think is really important when you start in a new organization is just understanding a little bit about who is who. And it's about human connections. It's not just about having an organizational chart with some faces on. You want to know a little bit more about that person. You might want to know a little bit more. So we've suggested creating something like an interactive organizational chart or an organogram. And this is so easy to do. So when you get the slides, you'll be able to click on the Canva button. And what I've done with this is I've just put together, I mean, these are just Canva templates. So with this, you could create just an image. You can add in your own photos of people. You could do something like this or like this. And you can edit this. And then all you need to do is download that image. And then back in ThingLink, you'll be able to start adding some of those interactive points. Now, remember, those hotspots can be videos, they can be text, they could have PDFs in, they can have other types of media in as well. So if you click on this one, you'll have a look at this. And I've literally just put in a couple of... Here we've got a little bit of information about the CEO, and it's all fictitious, by the way. Nexatech doesn't exist. I'm not giving away any trade secrets. So we just thought, wouldn't it be great if people introduce themselves with the, you know, people are getting a little bit more comfortable now with using their phones, TikTok style, you know, hello and welcome to the company. What a nice way to be able to know a bit more information about that person. And then, of course, people could put in their personal hobbies as well. If you've got pets, just like you have there, Dee, and I have Tallulah under the table. So this is such a simple concept to put together. Create an organizational chart. You probably got one, but it just gives people that little bit of comfort to see who's where, you know, put a face to the name, but also hear a little bit more about them. And the great thing about this is that if for any reason you need to update it quickly, all you need to do is, if you can see here, I'll go on to more actions. I can replace the background.
Wow.
And that is something that I know it's quite difficult to do if you've got lots of, you know, changes, people come and go. But it just makes it really easy if you want to edit any of the background, replace the background, replace these tags, you'll be able to do that. And the end product or the link will always stay the same. So it's real-time updating, so you never need to worry. So I thought that would be helpful just to give everyone that Canva template so they could have a go at doing that. And of course, it is all fictitious. And then the next example that I've got starts to bring together the idea of bringing this all in together. We saw that challenge in the first couple of slides there, which was everything was just everywhere. In an organization that I joined, there was no one place. And I might be a bit naughty and say there was a SharePoint site, but I found it really difficult to navigate the folders. And again, it didn't get updated and things were everywhere. And the other thing that I found is I didn't have permission for certain things because I didn't have all my accounts set up. So if you're looking in a SharePoint folder and you haven't got the right permission structure and you're a new hire, that can be really overwhelming because then you've got to phone up and say, oh, could you please add me to that folder? You know, so this is my example, interactive onboarding board. And if you click on that slide, it will take you to this example where, you know, you can put PDFs, and here's the sample brand guidelines. So if you want to have a look at that, and it's reach out to your friendly P&R department. There's also some information in here as well, which I do believe is a video, which is probably, oh no, it's a 3D model. I've just shown you can put 3D models in there as well, so people can have a look at specific objects. We've got here a virtual tour of the actual lab, which I've just embedded. You might have seen this one before. This is a 360 video. So the hotspots are in places in your field of view, but they're also along the bottom as well. And all of these have been put together on one ThingLink. And if I hit my share button, I can embed that onto my intranet. So if you've got an intranet like a Moodle or something like that, you could do that. You can also share it by link. You could even give people a QR code. So why not have a QR code on your desk or on the wall where people can just go and access this at any point in time, which is super cool. And then, of course, then the other thing that you can do as well is that you can translate it automatically by selecting whatever languages. So all the text is going to be available in any language that you want it to be. So that's some really nice features there as well. In this one here, you can see I've got the DEI policy. And just to show you as well, that if you want people to be able to have access to this with other legibility options, you can click the immersive reader button, and then of course you've got text to speech. Go into the reading preferences and you can translate it and have text to speech there and then in over 80 different languages. The other great thing about this is that you've also got a picture dictionary that's there as well, and we're not putting that on for certain people. It's just there, baked into that tag for everybody. So we've got all of these great accessibility options right there. And if I, was coming into an organization from scratch and I knew that they had this kind of approach, it would tell me that my company cares about me. And I think that that's hugely important as well. So some nice complementary examples there, things that people might have kind of assumed, but now, Dee, you are going to blow our socks off because you've got something that you wouldn't expect from a health service.
Absolutely. I think before we jump into that, two great points I just want to add on here. Even first, we've talked about the pre-boarding. I just want to say having that onboarding checklist is so important to make sure everybody has their logins. So that's an internal checklist. It's not for the learner. It's so important to just have that checklist to make sure you're able to get everyone logged into where they need to be. The other piece here, all of this ties into making the learner feel comfortable their first day, second day, third day, whenever they're at the company, knowing all the different positions in the hierarchy, also knowing who do I go to for questions and building connections. Somebody else might have a cat, right? That's a great starting point. Let's talk about our cats. And that's a great way to start building those connections internally and start letting new hires feel comfortable.
Absolutely. And there's a nice one here as well. I mean, obviously I've made a lot of these up, but here you've got actually.
Hello, I'm Hannah Morales, the CEO of our company, Nexa Tech. We are thrilled to have you on board and excited to see the amazing contributions you will bring to our organization.
How cool is that? I know I've made it up, but can you imagine if the CEO gave that kind of welcome to all of your new hires? Again, if you want to explore this example, it's on the slides that you will get a copy of when we send the email out at the end. So thanks, Dee. Love all those comments. Please put any other comments into the chat as well. Marit said, love the awesome examples. We've got Francesco joining us as well. Ciao to Francesco. Right, Dee, you're going to share with us now something which is pretty groundbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're talking about onboarding, a lot of the times, we do talk about overwhelming people with information, right? That is a shared experience, that information overload. But a great way to avoid that, and you'll see this is a great example of an onboarding escape room, but a great way to do that is gamify the experience. Let learners go one. This is a great example to set the stage, let learners know, how do I navigate through this escape room? But we're gamifying it so it doesn't feel, I'm still learning, but it doesn't feel like I am. And it also is a great way to show innovation in your organization. We're talking about first impression. So innovation and make it more fun. A great way to learn and get familiar with the different stages. And of course, we're going to go ahead and start the challenge here. So you can see, entering that escape room from the first couple pieces here. These are having those little knowledge checks and navigating step-by-step processes. And again, eventually gamifying that experience. This is a great way because part of the onboarding experience, and we'll talk about this more with some other examples, should be relevant to your role as well. So
Yes,
bring
of
this to the
course.
right people. And you'll see this is a great place for me to just, test my knowledge and continue through that onboarding process. And again, a little fun way as well. Let's make this fun for people. I want to collect pizza. Can I use your ID? No. Great way to go through this experience. And this is again a real example that has been used for this process. But you can see the way that they've incorporated different elements throughout. This will give a link to you be able to hear kind of that phone call come in. And finally, I do want to just jump to the next piece, but we're going to go ahead and politely decline here so that we can move to the next stage of this scenario. And that's going to be, let's get into the escape room. We're going to run to the emergency room.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then again, you'll see as we go through here as well, this is great. This is where the escape room has.
I'm nurse in charge. Please, doctor, there's a gentleman in this room who's had an out-of-hospital cardiac arrest. They gain Ross.
I love the voiceover here. You can see, you can explore at your own pace, but we do have those pulsing pieces to know, where should I go next?
Yeah.
Amazing.
The ED registrars, I just wanted to hand over a patient to the.
So being able to explore, again, gamify the experience. Onboarding doesn't have to be information overload. It doesn't have to be boring where I'm just reading a lot of information. We can make it exciting and give that great first impression of culture and innovation within a company as well.
It's incredible, Dee. And I was actually with the NHS last week at a digital showcase day, and some of these examples were showcased. And one of the standout points was that you can mix and match. You can do some kind of AI generated content because it gives us a kind of escape room style feel. But when it comes to kind of health and safety information, you can use your own 360s, which are in context, but also the alarms and the noises, you can use the actual ones that you would experience, because if you're doing kind of fire safety training and you've got a completely different alarm, it's out of context. So you can mix and match assets to make it a real life scenario. And what was also really nice with this one is that if you go back a bit, you can see that there was a padlock on the hotspots and people had to work through them sequentially, which also helps to reduce cognitive overload if you're going through lots of information. Francesco has just said, was the spherical image made with AI? Yes, it was, Francesco, and it was made with Skybox AI, which is part of the ThingLink suite of tools, which you've got access to. It does sometimes take a few tries to try and get the right image that you want to use, but you can experiment. But the point of it is that AI is never going to recreate something of an actual physical place. It's an artistic kind of impression. So if you want to create an artistic impression and create the ambience of an escape room, it's a great use case. And the other thing that you can do, and we've talked about Canva already today, but if you want to use a real 360, you can use your mobile phone to take a panoramic image, upload that to ThingLink, and it will turn it into a 360 photosphere. And then you could put special effects on it using Canva. You could put those kind of flames and make it more real that way as well. So lots of really nice use cases there. So I'm just going to go back and put my slides back up there. And the next example that we've got, so we just looked at that one, is trying to show you that kind of in context and accessible. This starts to bring it all together. So if you click on this one, this is one that we've made as a demo from other real examples. And what's nice about this is that you've got a time frame. So it's kind of already going to give you that kind of clock that's counting down there. So we know we've got 10 minutes in order to complete the scenario. And I love this one because kind of, I'll turn this down. It's that multimodal experience. So this is bringing together those real flames, the time pressure. You've got a hotspot here. You've got the immersive reader. You've even got the immersive reader here, which helps to translate everything that you see on the screen. So all of that is now, available to you. So you've got multimodal, the immersive experiences. And yes, someone's just saying, stop, that's fantastic, about being able to use a phone image. Brilliant. Thank you for calling that out, because, if I go into my desk drawer, which is a little bit messy here behind me, I've got a 360 camera, and I can tell you it lives in that drawer. I never remember to take it out with me. And when I do, it's never charged, but we've all got a mobile phone with us. So you can take that panoramic image, upload that to ThingLink, and we'll turn it into a photosphere for you. So that means that, you can collect your assets. That's a great comment. Thank you very much for bringing that up. So we have got lots and lots of really nice examples. People asking technical things, how to set the time frame. I'm going to respond to you there and put the links in the chat for you. I know someone was asking about data security and compliance. Ivan's put that in the chat to respond. And I'm also going to show you our new trust center as well. So everything that we have shown you in this fantastic collection of examples have been created with this suite of tools. So when you saw the interactive images, that was created with the ThingLink multimedia editor, the interactive choice board, the onboarding board, the organizational maps, the virtual tours. That's all done with the editor. And then Dee, you showed, and Claudia, you showed the scenario builder there. So that's something that was used for the escape room. Can you just call that out, Dee?
What was that? Sorry.
The scenario builder. So that was created using the scenario builder.
It was created with the scenario builder. So you're able to allow learners to navigate different ways. And you saw that with Claudia's example. The majority of what we're seeing is a shift to that, to the scenario builder, because it allows for a lot more flexibility in creating these types of onboarding experiences and creating different contextual scenarios. So when it comes to role specific, being able to branch and actually have a scenario that you would encounter in real life.
Yeah.
And going back to the data question, so Dee, if I'm creating all of these phenomenal examples, I probably want to know that people have actually done it. Is there a way to get the engagement statistics?
Yes. So that's a great point. And analytics are so important when it comes to also these onboarding experiences. How much time people learn at different paces? How much time are they taking? What questions, what paths are they taking if we're building it with the scenario builder? How much time are they taking on each task? We have all of these data analytics. And of course, we would only gather those analytics if your learners have a login, so that we are able to capture that data for specific learners. Otherwise, you'll get the general analytics when it comes to how many times was a hotspot clicked, or how many times was a specific scene viewed. So if we do want those analytics, it's really important to make sure that we have those user logins when we're talking about organizational onboarding. Analytics are really important. It's so important to understand where there could be gaps in learning, especially during that, where we want to make sure that we ramp new hires up in a specific amount of time. It helps organizations know how effective their onboarding training is.
Yeah, that's just crucial, isn't it? Because it's showing the evidence spend to save, because organizations, even like public sector organizations, have got to show that their investment is paying off, and having those statistics is going to be a really impactful way of saying, we've kept people, we've retained our staff, we've got better in terms of people applying for jobs as well, and they're staying with us longer, and all those other kind of feedback mechanisms as well. So excellent. I know we've got 15 minutes left, so we're going to really run out of time unless we kind of start moving on. So one of the other things that you can do with ThingLink, which has been called out, is that it's really important, and we've mentioned about not overloading people cognitively, but it's complex processes, really important things, and how you can break them down into really simple steps. And I've put this example into the deck so people will be able to go and have a look at this. But this is how to operate a forklift. It's something I would love to be able to do. I'm afraid I wouldn't know where to start, but this would give me a really good step into driving a forklift. I've always quite fancied myself on, operating diggers and loaders. Maybe in the future, change of career. And if I click the forward on button here, you can see that, before I start, and it's numbered. And can you see that these are highlighted in sequence, and they pulse, and they're like beacons of light drawing me to click the number 2. And when I've clicked the number 2, the number 3 shows. Now, we mentioned in the start of this about some people having accessibility requirements and just making things really simple, broken down. But, everybody can benefit from these kinds of really nice steps to go through as well. And then once we've gone through that, here we've got the same principles. We've got the number 1 flashing. What do? We check the condition of the tires. We've got, you've got to check that. So, this is just so crucial in terms of having the obligation to show that you as an organization have created these kinds of things for your staff, particularly when it comes to health and safety, OSHA assessments, if you're going to go for any standards, industry standard recognition about what you're doing. And I know for a fact that the organizations that have been creating these are winning awards because they are demonstrating how innovative they have been. There's one here, and I wasn't going to show it, but I think I might. And this is one that's been put together for engineers to learn all about the pros and cons of.
Welcome to the Ikadan installation tour. What we're going to do is go around the property that went from an oil boiler.
So this is all about making sure that they're installing the boilers in the right place. Now, you couldn't get to have training on site because this is a customer. So the engineers have got this kind of training, which is accessible
a bit further down the garden
on
here.
any device, and they're looking at the pros and cons of where to put these boilers. So again, really interactive, really immersive, and giving us loads of really nice examples. So I'm going to hand over to you now, Dee, because you're going to talk about the fact that, this is something that anyone can do.
Yeah. So when we're talking about, and I love the idea of exit strategies, because when somebody leaves your organization, they are also taking with them the crucial knowledge that could be passed on. So when we're talking about exit strategies, so we're talking about onboarding, offboarding now, it's really important to allow those learners to, as we say, or the people leaving the organization to brain dump. And ThingLink makes it easy because anyone can create using our tool. All you need is for them to have, and maybe they're even brain dumping into a Google Doc. You can upload that Google Doc into ThingLink and create with AI, making that process really easy. Also, the UI UX makes it really easy for anyone to create. They don't need coding skills. So as we see this generation of learners starting to retire, and we want them to give us and brain dump their knowledge, we're going to make it easy for them to do so. And you don't need any technical expertise. You don't need any coding skills. It's super simple for anyone to create utilizing the ThingLink scenario builder and the create with AI, as you'll see here.
Amazing. And you know how many organizations like panic when people leave because they're leaving with valuable knowledge.
Exactly.
And it's valuing that person and saying, you know, we want to make sure we're capturing this. And it's also probably quite cathartic for that person leaving to feel like they've done, you know, their job, they've done what they can do to make sure that they are leaving a legacy behind them as well. And yeah, as you can see, this is a really nice way of being able to do that. But also, you know, if a person has been through that onboarding process with this kind of experience, and then the organization says, how could you use this in your job? How can you use this to work with your team? How can you use this to work with your customers? You know, there's so many spin-offs from this. And yeah, that's a really nice way to be able to do that. This is one of our brand new videos. A big shout out to our content teams for putting this together. So now as we're coming to, you know, the kind of other aspect about this, and it's how people engage with these things that have been created. So just to make sure that you understand that everything we've shown you, it can be viewed on a mobile device.
Yeah.
It can be viewed on a laptop, a Chromebook, a Mac. It can be on your touchscreen panels, and maybe groups of people go through it together. You can use this with VR headsets, and this is from high-end headsets right the way through to some of the lower entry type headsets as well. And if you are lucky enough to have an immersive room, imagine playing out those scenarios in an immersive room where you get to kind of feel what it's like. And why not even combine doing a kind of simulation in that room? You know, you could be in the escape room, and you can also, you know, be doing something as well, maybe with a mannequin. Lots of different options there. But Dee, that brings us on really nicely to our other brand new video that was announced this week and shared on our socials.
Yeah, another shout out to the content team for this video. But as you'll see here, right, the beauty of thing, like Louise just mentioned, anything you can create, you don't have to change it around for it to be compatible on any device. We're future-proofing learning. So you can also access this in a headset. As we see a lot of organizations are moving towards that, especially when it comes to onboarding, right? Being able to feel like you're in that physical space and have this role-specific type training that you can just access and immerse yourself into that environment. I know Louise is going to talk a little bit about our landing pages here in a second, but it's important because that's how you can deliver this training as well. And very cool, like I said, to be able to future-proof these pieces and really immerse yourself into a real-world scenario that mimics your everyday role and responsibilities.
Brilliant. And that's exactly what we're showing there. You saw that fire safety scenario, which you can have a go at. The landing page that you saw there is something that's part of your organizational ThingLink account. Some organizations don't have a learning management system. They maybe just want to share a link. And if you click on this image, you'll be taken to a mock-up of a landing page. And these are like playlists. So here you've got playlists that you can share just with a custom link that you can create, and it takes people to this landing page. You've still got that security because people can be logged in, and it will show what's meant for them to see if they're logged into their ThingLink account. So yeah, we're trying to think of everything, and landing pages is something that is new, and we'll probably have another webinar as well, which will show you how to create those landing pages. So now we've got a few minutes left because I want to allow time for questions as well. We have our new ThingLink Trust Center, and Ivan and the team have worked really hard to put this together. It's got everything you need to know about our ISO standard qualifications. So this is a certification that we've got, which is gold standard. You know, this is the highest level that you can get in terms of confidence that we have paid attention every step to DPIAs, to GDPR, to COPPA and FERPA, all of those certifications that you need to have. So if you click on the link here, it will take you to our Trust Center. as Dee has mentioned, we love working with organisations. We consider you part of our wider community. We want people to partner with us. If you just want some help with ideation, you want a demo, everyone can reach out to you there, Dee. And that's the link for them to schedule a demo with you.
Yes, schedule a demo, scan the QR code. You can also, if you have your phone handy, you can just scan it and schedule a demo directly through that QR code as well.
Brilliant. And you are, of course, in Denver, but if there are people who are maybe in the UK, we'll make sure that we connect you with Troy for K-12, Alexi in EU, Andreas who's covering Germany, Andrew who's covering higher ed in the UK. So we'll make sure that we connect you to the right person. And last by no means least, connect with us. Click and join our YouTube. You're watching on YouTube now. Hit the subscribe button and you'll get all of these videos. Insta is growing, and our LinkedIn page as well, where you'll get all of the news and the updates. We do have wonderful programs for adoption as well. Claudia, as one of our exemplary ThingLink certified trainers, who's joined us today. So all that's left to say is a huge, big thank you from us all. It's been so wonderful to talk about this. It really is quite exciting, isn't it, to think that, you know, this is going to really change experiences for people going into the world of work, changing jobs, starting new jobs, new careers, leaving jobs, or even, you know, organizations wanting to transform the way that they train their workforce. So any last moments and thoughts from you? Claudia, I come to you.
Oh my God. Well, I've learned so much today. That was amazing. I learned that there is a pre-onboarding, which is great because, in my opinion, you feel less scared because you got everything in place and you know where to go and who to talk to and who to deal with. So it's good. Thank you very much, Dee, for your time and effort. I really appreciate that. And then that was amazing. That was something new for me. And onboarding is so important for both teachers and students, and not only for them, of course. So thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Brilliant. And Dee, any thoughts from you? And I'm going to bring Ivan in because Ivan's been answering all the questions as well in the chat. But Dee, anything from you?
No, I mean, thank you everyone for joining. Claudia, it's always a pleasure. All the laughs, and Louise, you're great at setting this up. If anyone ever has questions, if you've attended and you have questions just about, you know, onboarding best practices, please feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to strategize with you as well.
Brilliant. And Ivan, you've been brilliant, helping away in the chat there as well. Some lovely questions coming in. Specifics around using Scenario Builder as well. Someone was asking about the time, but you've got a great series of support articles for everyone.
Yeah, as always, refer to our support center for starting guides. You can always reach out to our team if you have any further questions, and we might have a webinar on Scenario Builder coming up later this year, but we'll see.
Excellent. And we've got another webinar on accessibility, date to be confirmed. We've got another webinar coming up with Mitsubishi Electric, and that's going to be in mid-June, where they're going to talk to us all about what they've been doing to grow the future workforce of engineers. It's fantastic. But all that's left for me to say in this final minute is a huge thank you to both Claudia and Dee and Ivan, of course, for being part of this wonderful webinar. Thank you to you at home watching us, or if you're watching on the catch up, you'll get the slides with all of the links, and explore, get in touch with us. We'd be delighted to hear from you. Have a safe journey home if you're going home after your evening of work, and we really hope that you'll look forward and come and join us for future webinars as well. So a huge thank you from me. Thank you to you all. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the day, wherever you are. Take care. And that's